Hey, this is Greg. Welcome to Uncut Friday. And what I do every Friday, or what I've been doing every Friday, is I do an unscripted video on a particular topic of interest, something that came on my radar screen, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. So here I go, and if I stammer or stutter or lose my train of thought, hey, that's Uncut Friday for you, okay? Nothing we can do about that. And the whole concept here is I'm just here chatting with you, just talking. Okay, so getting serious now. What I'm thinking about today, and this is something that I have spoken about on the channel previously, and I'll refer to you during this video and at the end, two of the videos that I produced on this topic. And the topic is the Next Black Swan Event. And incidentally, this is the Next Black Swan Event that you'll never hear anybody talk about this except on this channel. All right? So here goes. Now, everybody is thinking about and talking about what's going on in the U.S., you know, the massive stimulus package and the economy opening up and turning around, and, you know, the news media is focusing on all this. Everybody's talking about it. I've talked a lot about it on this channel. But one thing that nobody in this country is focusing on, or have focused on, quite honestly, for the last few years, is what's going on in Europe. Now, I understand, you know, for most people, for most Americans, what's going on in Europe is an abstraction, and they don't really focus on it. But what I've focused on, primarily because of my financial background, is what they have been doing in their financial markets since the 2008-09 financial collapse. Okay, let me just take you back. And again, I cover this in other videos, but let me just take you back on a little trip down memory lane, so to speak. Back in 2008-09, the United States invented this thing called QE. Well, they didn't really invent it, but they took it to new amazing heights. And just to review, that's when the government, the Fed, prints money and then goes into the market with that money that they create from thin air, and they buy securities. And the reason they do this is to stabilize the markets at times of financial panic, ensure liquidity, and things of that nature. Now, while that concept is a great concept in times of panic and when the markets are in disarray, what happens is these Fed people, these Fed chairmen, get obsessed with the QE. And what Bernanke did in the US was there was QE1, QE2, QE3, and they make the same mistake that they all make, going back to Greenspan. They either keep rates too low, or they put too much liquidity into the market, increase the money supply, and then that money has to go somewhere, and you create asset bubbles, okay? We all understand that, or, you know, if you're into the markets and if you're into following these things, you understand that. So what Europe did very early on, around the 2010 timeframe, is they decided to imitate what the United States was doing and begin to implement QE on behalf of largely the Southern European countries known as the pigs, right? Portugal, Ireland, Spain, Italy, right? All these Southern European states were in financial trouble, starting with Greece, right? And there was a problem with Greece where they couldn't meet their obligations and they were going to go bankrupt, and it caused contagion, which spilled over into the United States. And this is why this whole subject is important to us, because what they do over there is going to eventually affect us, right? So Mario Draghi, who was the head of the ECB, the European Central Bank, started to imitate what we were doing over here. And, it suddenly dawned on him, hey, with his announcement that he will do whatever it takes to stabilize the markets, he got this brilliant idea. Why don't we print money? And not only will I go out and buy securities to stabilize the markets, but it suddenly dawned on him, he's a smart guy, why don't I start buying sovereign debt in the pigs so that I can artificially lower their rates so that they don't all go bankrupt? And there were also things that they were doing to prevent the banks from having to actually write down all their bad loans, but that's another subject. But so he started around that time frame, 2010, 2011, printing euros. And I'll talk about the difference between euros and dollars in a second, but he started printing euros and going out into the market and buying the debt of Italy, Portugal, Spain, Ireland, all these basically insolvent countries, in order to lower their borrowing costs so they could A, remain solvent, and B, have a backstop to their debt so that somebody would buy their debt at a rate that they could continue to basically operate. Okay? Now, in times of, again, market distress and times when there's financial panic, this kind of a thing makes sense. But what they did was they took it a step further, and it became standard operating procedure, and they've been doing this for about 12 years. Okay? Now, fast forward to today, Mario Draghi leaves, goes off to pursue some political career. He's going to, I guess, be head of Italy, premier of Italy, whatever they call it. And Christine Lagarde took over for him. Now, Christine Lagarde, if you don't know, she's a lawyer. She was head of the IMF. And she's basically a political hack. Okay? She knows nothing about this subject, or at least she didn't know anything when she took the job. It was a political appointment largely, and she is, in my view, massively in over her head. Okay? Draghi, I thought, was, very knowledgeable and knew what he was doing. She is probably completely in over her head, and what's happened recently is that the EU took what I consider to be a fateful step of launching a huge recovery plan behind this COVID thing of about $1 trillion. But the unique aspect of it is that, number one, they're not loans to these Southern European states as they were before, and were also tied to reforms. Now they're giving them loans without any strings attached, and most importantly, they're giving them grants which don't have to be paid back of approximately 400 billion euros. Okay, just grants, just giving them money, don't have to pay it back. Continue to operate your governments irresponsibly. Continue to make promises that you can't keep, and we'll just continue to subsidize it. Okay? And the most disturbing aspect of this is that Germany finally agreed to guarantee all of this, not only them, but have every member state guarantee these borrowings. So now this is the first time that they've gotten together and actually borrowed and jointly and severally guaranteed all of this, which means basically Germany guaranteed it. Germany and some of the other, France and the Netherlands, the Northern European countries, the rich countries basically are on the hook for this, because the Southern European countries aren't worth shit. So why do I bring this all up? Okay, this whole racket that they have going there, where they're printing money, buying sovereign debt, keeping these Southern European countries afloat, is tantamount to a Ponzi scheme. Because it's not based on anything. It's not based on economics. It's not based on shit. It's artificially subsidizing through the printing of money, through QE, these member states. Now let me give you a couple of shocking, completely shocking data points. I was looking up where the U.S. Treasury was trading yesterday, and I saw, around 1.6% on the 10-year. Okay. Then I scrolled down, and I saw Italy. Take a guess what Italy is borrowing 10-year money at, based on this Ponzi scheme. 0.6%. Italy's borrowing 10-year money at 0.6%, and the United States of America is borrowing at 1.6%. What does that tell you? And in addition to that, the European Union is all freaked out because Italy and some of the other pigs' borrowing costs went from 0.5% to 0.6%. Oh my God, the world is ending. We better do more QE, and we better buy more bonds immediately to rein in these expenses. Do you see how ridiculous this is? It's not only ridiculous, it's unsustainable. Why is it unsustainable? Let's look at the difference between the US dollar and the euro. Okay? US dollar is the world's reserve currency. You cannot operate in the world's markets as a country, and it doesn't matter if you're the United States, you're France, or you're freaking China. You can't operate in the world without dollars, right? So what reserve currency means is China, in order to operate their outlaw regime, has to have dollars in reserve, billions and billions and billions of dollars in reserve, or else they can't buy oil. They can't buy a vast number of commodities that they need to operate their country unless they have dollars. It's also called hard currency. Same with every other, degenerate country around the world, or every other, developed country around the world. You need dollars. So what that gives the U.S. the ability to print literally an infinite amount of dollars and have no consequence, because the demand for dollars is basically unlimited. Okay? Now let's look at the ECB, and let's look at the euro. The euro, compared to the dollar, is almost like play money. It's like nobody needs euros, okay? Maybe if you're trading currencies, you need euros, but no country needs euros to survive, okay? Euros, if euros went away tomorrow, there would be financial consequences to the world economies and the world financial markets, but we'd get over it, okay? The world survived before euros, it will survive after euros. Different with dollars. There is a limit to how much they can perpetuate this Ponzi scheme before the markets eventually just say, you know what? I've had it with you people. No more euros. No more sovereign debt. You're done. When that happens, when these sovereign bond issues of Italy, basically the pigs, trade at true price discovery that's reflective of the credit risk of the country. Italy, last time I checked, was their debt was 150% of GDP. Once there's true price discovery on those bonds, they'll be trading at 10%, and Italy will be insolvent, as I've said in previous videos, in a matter of weeks. Okay? This is a black swan event that nobody's talking about, And the only place you're going to hear it is on this channel. Which is ridiculous. I mean, this is like I have like a tiny channel that nobody watches. You know, I mean, let's be honest. I'm growing the channel gradually, and eventually it'll be successful. But right now, you know, only you loyal subscribers watch it, and whoever else YouTube shows it to, you know, are the only people watching it. But literally, I'm giving you something unique here. Put this in the back of your mind, or put it in the front of your mind, and be aware of what's going on in Europe. It's completely insane, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's getting worse. All right, so if you found value out of this, please like and subscribe. I'd be very interested in your comments. Some of you Europeans out there, you might have a different view on this, or you might agree with me. But please, give me the comments. Enjoy presenting you with these insights that I have and information. I will be coming out with more content on this and related issues in the near future. So thank you very much again for watching, and take care and have a good weekend. And I'll see you next week on Uncut Friday.